There's something really strange about being a millennial man right now because we grew up in one world and then got thrown into a completely different one before we'd even fully become adults. And I genuinely don't think people realize how weird that transition actually was. And I noticed it recently when I went back home to the UK. I grew up on a council estate that both my parents grew up on as well. And when I was a kid, there were always people outside, like kids riding bikes and people knocking on each other's doors and teenagers hanging around together, footballs getting kicked around, people arguing because you're trying to go into their garden to get the ball back, then people laughing, like just life just felt more alive back then somehow. And now when I go back there, even in summer, it almost feels empty. Not because nobody lives there anymore, because obviously they do, but everybody's inside. Like the kids aren't outside climbing trees or disappearing for 8 hours on bikes anymore. Nobody's running through fields or building bases or firing bow and arrows, everyone's just indoors staring at screens. And I know that makes me sound a little bit like my parents now, but honestly, I think something important disappeared when that happened. Because millennials, we grew up in this weird in-between generation. We were taught older values by parents and schools that still partly belonged to the pre-internet world. Like go outside and work hard and get a decent job, meet someone and build a stable life. Life was still physical back then. Friendships were physical and boredom was physical. Dating was physical. Like if you wanted to see your friends, you actually had to go and knock on their door and ask if they were coming out. And then suddenly, the entire world changed underneath us. The internet exploded. Smartphones arrived. Social media arrived. Dating apps arrived. And algorithms started competing for people's attention constantly. And everything just slowly moved online. And it happened unbelievably fast. I honestly think a lot of millennial men adapted externally, but not internally, or at least not fully. Like now life is just screens and notifications and doom scrolling, porn and dating apps, like constant comparison, living online more than real life. And I think a lot of men feel completely lost now because modern life no longer resembles the world they were psychologically preparing for growing up. Even socially, everything feels different now. Like people don't randomly knock on each other's doors anymore. A lot of friendships feel weaker and community feels weaker. People trust each other less. Everything feels more individualistic. And honestly, I think people are way lonelier than they admit, especially men, because a lot of men don't really know how to talk openly about loneliness or lack of purpose properly. So instead, they distract themselves constantly through things like gaming and scrolling and porn and sex and work, dopamine, and all of those things I'm guilty of using as a means to cope too. Like some more than others, so I'm not trying to sound like enlightened or anything. It's just anything to stop sitting alone with the feeling that something feels missing. And honestly, I think that's why nostalgia hits millennials so hard now. Not because the 90s or early 2000s were perfect, because they definitely weren't, but life felt slower and more present and more human. It's like we were yanked out of something that was actually okay and into a world of shit. Like when you were outside with your friends all day, that was reality. Your attention wasn't constantly being pulled apart every 30 seconds by apps and notifications and algorithms. Like, I can't imagine what that's like for kids now with a smartphone. Like, now people can barely watch a film without checking their phone halfway through or all the way through. Like, people are mentally exhausted all the time now, and I honestly think that modern life has exhausted people mentally in ways we still don't fully understand yet, or we're only just realizing, especially millennial men. And they're the one group that people aren't talking about. Because a lot of men now, they're drifting through life with no real community, no purpose, no strong relationships, just constant overstimulation, and no real sense of where they belong anymore. And this is why now you see some real dickhead influencers that have become so impressionable to other men. But underneath it all, it's this feeling that something important has gone missing. Not just community, but meaning and purpose and direction. And honestly, I don't think most millennial men are lazy or weak or failures. I think a lot of us are just totally fucking exhausted from trying to adapt to a world that changed faster than human beings were designed for. And deep down, I think a lot of men are grieving something a little bit. Like a slower world, a more physical world, a world that felt more real. And maybe that's why so many millennial men feel completely lost now. Because a lot of us still remember what life felt like before everybody disappeared into screens.